Brian from Wellington, New Zealand writes to me, I'm considering biamping my speakers and I came across the idea of vertical biamping 1 amp per speaker, with each channel driving the high and the low frequencies separately. It sounds intriguing, but I'm wondering how much actual benefit there is in practice. Is this a subtle tweak for fine-tuning or a dramatic improvement worth the cost and the complexity? Have you ever experimented with vertical versus horizontal biamping, and which configurations do you prefer? I prefer horizontal biamping to vertical biamping, and let's discuss what this actually means first. So horizontal biamping means one amplifier handles all the bass. So left channel on the left loudspeaker, bass, and the right channel of the one amplifier on the bass of the other speaker. And then that's the horizontal, right? And then you take another amp and you add it and you power separately the left and right tweeter. Okay? And speakers almost always have the rear here. So if we look at, here's our FR5, and you can see that I don't know many speakers that worth their salt that don't have that separated. So normally this comes with a jumper, but if you're going to biamp, and whether you do it vertically or horizontally, there's the bass and then there's the treble. That is where all the speaker cables go, right? Okay, so that's what we're doing. And vertical just means amp A, the one channel goes to the bass, and the other channel of that amplifier goes to the tweeter. Now, I'm not much of a fan. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And as we've mentioned before, biamping is sort of a relic of the past. Long time ago, amps were not very good. Amps had one or two characteristics that made them really great. Maybe the amp had terrific bass, but usually if that were the case, its treble sucked, or the opposite, or the one that had the great treble only had 10 watts, and you wouldn't want to drive bass with that. Today's modern amplifiers don't have that problem. You take a modern PS audio amplifier and you hook it up full range to your loudspeaker and you'll be in heaven. Great top end, great bottom end, great mid-range. And that's true of most modern amplifiers, okay? So years ago, when amplifiers kind of sucked, they didn't do everything well, but they did some things well, biamping made a whole lot more sense. But imagine that wouldn't be true if you vertically biamped. So if you have this little weenie amplifier that it sounds great on the top end, you don't want to plug that little thing in for the bass, and vice versa, right? So to me, if you're going to biamp, you pick an amplifier whose characteristics you really like in one frequency range and put that horizontally on the bottom end, and then find one that has a really sweet top end and a bottom end and put that on the top. Again, I believe today, certainly with PS Audio and certainly with a number of other audio manufacturers, amps today don't really benefit from biamping. So that's the best I got. I hope that helps. All right, bye.